Let's just say it. This wasn't supposed to happen. Not again. Not publicly. Not live on ESPN. But here we are. 7 minutes ago, Shedeur Sanders once again walked into the Lions' den, looked the NFL's Don't Rock the Boat culture square in the eye, and rocked it so hard the whole league is still vibrating. And the person standing across from him? Kevin Stefanski. Or, well, what's left of him at this point? Because this wasn't just a heated exchange or a spicy soundbite. This was Shedeur Sanders going full truth serum. Again, no filter, no flinch, no regrets. And if the first ESPN confrontation lit the match, this one poured gasoline on the entire stadium and walked away holding the mic like it was a torch. If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed. Let's break down what just happened. It was supposed to be a feel-good segment. The Browns had just eked out a narrow win. Everyone expected the usual cliches. It's a team game. We just kept fighting. Got the W. On to next week. The safe stuff. The boring stuff. Shedeur? He had other plans. The interviewer asked him a simple question, one they probably thought he'd dodge. There seemed to be some tension on the sideline between you and Coach Stefanski during the third quarter. Can you walk us through what happened? What followed wasn't just an answer. It was a moment. Shedeur looked straight into the camera, smirked slightly, and dropped this. We were trying to win the game. Some people coach like they're scared to lose. Boom. The air got sucked out of the broadcast. You could see the host's face freeze. You could hear the silence. Thick, awkward, glorious. And Shedeur? Still calm. Still cool. Like he knew exactly what he was doing. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't rant. He didn't even seem angry. He seemed free. We got too much talent on this roster to play scared. I came here to win, not babysit egos. And there it was. Not a shot across the bow. This was a cannonball through the coaching office. And what makes it so powerful isn't just what Shedeur said. It's who he is, how he said it, and why nobody, absolutely nobody, is questioning it anymore. Because he's not some diva throwing a tantrum. He's not some entitled rookie demanding attention. He's the most prepared, most respected, and most poised person in the building, and everyone knows it. The players, already with him. The fans have been with him. The media, scrambling to keep up. And Stefanski, this was strike two, after the first viral showdown. Everyone said maybe it's just frustration. Maybe the kid got emotional. Maybe they'll work it out behind the scenes. But now, after this, there's no maybe left. What we have now is a power struggle turned public spectacle, and Shedeur is winning by knockout. Let's be clear, this wasn't just another emotional outburst. This was strategic, a statement, the kind that forces decisions, the kind that makes ownership shift in their chairs, the kind that doesn't allow things to quietly blow over. And the context? Even heavier. Leading up to the game, insiders were already leaking stories about rising tensions. Stefanski reportedly wanted to tighten up the offense, a.k.a. strip some control away from Shedeur. More handoffs, fewer deep shots, less audibling. In short, less Shedeur. Why? Because control. Because power. Because the last thing old-school coaches want is a quarterback who thinks he knows better than them. But here's the twist. Sometimes he does. Shedeur wasn't calling out his coach because he's disrespectful. He was calling out a system that refuses to adapt, a mindset that rewards mediocrity if it comes from the top and punishes confidence when it comes from the bottom. That's the real story. This isn't Shedeur versus Stefanski. This is player-led leadership versus coach control systems. It's a generational clash, a cultural reckoning, and it's playing out in front of millions. You can feel the league holding its breath because they've seen what happens when players take the wheel and it goes off the rails. But this is different. This is controlled rebellion. This is Leadership 2.0, broadcast live, branded with authenticity and backed by results. Let's talk about those results for a second. Since Shedeur was made starter, the Browns' offense has exploded. The ball is moving. The crowd is alive. The huddle has purpose. Teammates aren't just executing. They're buying in. You think that's a coincidence? You think this team is rallying behind some cocky rookie with no substance? Wrong. They're rallying behind a guy who showed up more prepared than the coaching staff, who spent his rookie camp teaching other players the system, who watches film like a man possessed and throws like he's got GPS-guided missiles in his right arm. He's not playing quarterback. He's commanding it. And yet, he's still being questioned, still being doubted, still being micromanaged by a staff that can't seem to understand that leadership isn't about titles. It's about trust. So what now? After the second live TV moment, the Browns have no choice. This is a full-blown organizational crisis. Either you back your quarterback, your franchise, your future, your face of the team, or you risk losing everything. Because here's the truth that no one wants to say out loud. Shedeur Sanders holds more power in that building than anyone else. Not because he demanded it, because he earned it. He earned it with poise, with preparation, with performance, with the kind of fearless clarity that actual leaders carry. And the Browns, for all their history of dysfunction, just might be smart enough to realize that. They're at a crossroads. Double down on an outdated coaching hierarchy and alienate the locker room, or embrace the new model, the Shedeur model, and finally evolve into a modern franchise that gets it. It shouldn't be a hard decision. But with Cleveland, you never know. One thing's for sure. Whatever happens next, it's going to be loud. Social media is already on fire. Shedeur said it again is trending. ESPN is clearing blocks of airtime to cover the fallout. The fans, they're not just watching. They're participating, rallying, showing up with signs at practice, demanding reporters, demanding change. This isn't just a moment. It's a movement. So buckle up, NFL, because the era of top-down, shut up and throw the ball quarterbacking is dying, fast. And Shedeur Sanders, he's not just the future of football. He's the catalyst. Call it ego. Call it drama. Call it whatever you want. But in 10 years, we'll look back at this moment, the second ESPN explosion, and know it wasn't just a soundbite. It was the sound of the NFL changing forever. Let us know in the comments. Are you riding with Shedeur, or are you still holding on to the old school ways? Either way, subscribe, because if this is what he's doing this early in his career, you won't want to miss what comes next. This whole Shedeur Sanders versus the NFL establishment thing, it's a league-wide mirror. And now that the reflection's been exposed on national television, again, nobody's quite sure what to do with it. You've got half the league's front offices nervously watching the fallout, wondering if their rookie QB is taking notes, wondering if their veteran leaders are texting each other in the group chat like, "Yo, did you see what Shedeur just did?" Because what happened on ESPN wasn't just a clash between a quarterback and a coach. It was a statement, one that echoes far beyond the boundaries of Berea or First Energy Stadium, one that's forcing every organization to ask themselves a very uncomfortable question. Are we building around leadership or around control? Let's rewind for a second. What Shedeur did on live television, twice now, is almost unheard of in the NFL. Not because players don't feel what he said. They do. You better believe they do. But most of them aren't bold enough to say it out loud. Not in this league. Not in this culture. Where saying the wrong thing can cost you everything. But Shedeur, he said it. Again. With receipts. And you know what happened? The world responded. Because fans don't want corporate PR robots anymore. They want real. They want human. They want guys who stand in front of a microphone and tell the truth, even when it makes people squirm. That's what Shedeur delivered. Unapologetic authenticity. He didn't go on a rant. He didn't whine. He didn't throw anyone directly under the bus. What he did was lay out the truth in plain, unflinching language. And in doing so, he became more than just a quarterback. He became a symbol. A symbol of what this generation of athletes represents. Fearless, expressive, smart, strategic, and done waiting for permission. And here's the irony. For all the talk about respecting the game, that's exactly what Shedeur is doing. He respects the game enough to call out when it's being mismanaged. He respects the game enough to want better for himself for his teammates, and for the millions watching at home who dream of being his cleats one day. But not everyone sees it that way. You've got the usual suspects foaming at the mouth on cable sports shows, calling him entitled, immature, disruptive. And you know what that is? Fear. Pure, unfiltered fear that the power is shifting, that the age of unchallenged coaching dictatorships and silent rookies is ending, that the voice of the locker room doesn't have to come from the guy with the clipboard. It can come from the guy wearing the pads and actually leading on the field. What Shedeur did is scary to people who benefit from the old way, because if this becomes the new normal, if quarterbacks start setting the tone, calling out bad leadership, demanding innovation, and gasp, doing it with confidence and charisma, then you better believe there's going to be a lot of uncomfortable boardrooms around the league. And don't think for a second that his teammates aren't watching all of this unfold with laser focus. You think Shedeur walks back into that locker room and people avoid him? Absolutely not. He walks in and gets nods, gets daps, gets guys pulling him aside to say, "Yo, thank you for saying it," because they've been thinking it for months. For years, every guy who's ever sat through a broken scheme, a stale playbook, a coach too prideful to admit they're out of touch, they all saw themselves in that moment. And now, they're backing him harder than ever. You want proof? Look at the Browns' sideline energy since that interview dropped. Look at the body language. Look at the unity. Look at the way even the veterans, especially the veterans, are leaning in. Because Shedeur is not just making noise, he's producing results. The throws, crisp. The reads, sharp. The decision-making, veteran level. He's not just lighting up defenses. He's controlling the game. There's an efficiency to how he plays that silences the doubters. Every time he steps on the field, he validates every word he said. That's the real mic drop. Not the interview, but the execution afterward. And don't think the league's GMs haven't noticed. You think teams like the Raiders, Falcons, or Commanders wouldn't sell a kidney for a quarterback like this? One who can lead, win, and be the face of the franchise without crumbling under the pressure of the spotlight? This isn't just about Shedeur versus Stefanski anymore. That chapter's already ending. Because after the second Live TV moment, Stefanski's fate is sealed. Whether he's gone tomorrow or riding out a weird interim situation, his power is already gone, stripped, dissolved by the tide of public opinion and locker room, support flowing directly toward Shedeur. You could almost feel it in real time. The moment that clip hit the internet, it was over. Stefanski may still have the title, for now, but Shedeur has the team. He has the locker room. He has the fans. He has the future. And speaking of the future, where does this go from here? Because now the Browns have a decision to make, not just about who's under center, that's already obvious, but about how they run the entire organization. Do they evolve? Do they embrace this new wave of leadership? Do they build the structure around Shedeur's style, his strengths, his voice? Or do they cling to the old model and watch everything fall apart? Again, that's the real test now. Because Shedeur is not going to change. He's not going to shrink himself. He's not going to apologize for being the most influential voice in the building. And why should he? He's doing the job. He's carrying the weight. He's winning the games. He's answering the questions others are too scared to ask. He's not a problem. He's a blueprint. And if the Browns are smart, they'll realize that before another franchise swoops in and build the house he deserves. Because let's be honest, Shedeur Sanders is the kind of player you build an entire culture around. Not just because he can throw a perfect spiral, but because he understands the moment. He understands the locker room, the media, the fan base, the politics, the stakes. He understands how to lead, not by following the script, but by rewriting it. And that scares people, because rewriting the script means breaking some rules. It means calling out the game within the game. It means saying, we can do better than this. And Shedeur, he's doing exactly that. So here we are, again, another Shedeur moment, another mic drop, another viral quote, another nail in the coffin of the old way. And yet, somehow, it still feels like the beginning. Because if he's doing this in year one, what happens when the league catches up to the fact that they got a future MVP, cultural icon, and franchise-saving quarterback all in one? What happens when other players follow his lead? What happens when every locker room starts asking, why are we doing what Cleveland's doing? You can call it controversial. You can call it disruptive. Or you can call it what it really is. The future of football. And Shedeur Sanders? He's already running it. So go ahead, drop your takes. Are you Team Shedeur? Is this leadership or chaos? Is the league ready for this kind of quarterback? Let us know in the comments. And don't forget to hit subscribe. Because if this is how year one looks, you haven't seen anything yet. Because what Shedeur Sanders just did for the second time, mind you, isn't just a viral moment. It's not a flash-in-the-pan headline or something you toss into a highlight reel and move on from. This is the kind of event that sticks. This is the kind of confrontation that creates echoes, not just in Cleveland, not just across the league, but throughout the entire culture of sports. You know how certain moments become bookmarks in NFL history? T.O. on the star, Marshawn Lynch refusing to talk to media, Brady leaving New England. This? Shedeur's live ESPN call-out again? Yeah, mark it down. We just added a new chapter. And the thing is, it's not even about Kevin Stefanski anymore. That dynamic, that war, that power struggle, it's over. Whether his name is still on the coach's door or not, we all know where the center of gravity has shifted. It's Shedeur's team now, and you can feel the difference. The city knows it. The locker room knows it. The fans definitely know it. You can sense the pulse of the franchise beating from one place. QB1. He's not waiting for a coronation. He's not hoping for approval. He's walking like he already owns the keys to the kingdom, and people are following him through the gates. The new era has a face, a voice, a fire, and somehow it's all wrapped in a 21-year-old rookie who wasn't even supposed to be NFL ready until year 3, according to the talking heads. Let's talk about those talking heads for a second. Remember all the experts who questioned his mental game, who said he was a social media QB, who thought his name of all things, was too big a shadow for him to step out of. Where are they now? Nowhere to be found. Because when you go live on national TV, again, and calmly call out institutional fear in the middle of a playoff push, and then back it up with film, leadership, locker room command, and fan loyalty. Yeah, those doubters get real quiet, real fast. This is what makes Shedeur so dangerous. Not just the accuracy, not just the arm, not even the numbers, which, by the way, are borderline surgical. It's the control, the understanding, the awareness of exactly what's happening around him, and how to move the chessboard in real time. What quarterback, in year 1, is this composed? What rookie can pull off a takedown of his own head coach on national TV and walk into practice the next day stronger? That's not ego. That's not arrogance. That's clarity. And everyone can see it, even if they won't say it out loud. And here's where it gets even more interesting. This isn't just a win for Shedeur. This is a win for every young player who's been told to wait your turn, even when they were clearly the best option. This is a win for the guys who put in the work, show up ready, outperform the starter, and still get told they need to be more humble. Shedeur just shattered that myth. He said, if I'm ready, I'm ready, and I'm not going to pretend I'm not, just to make people feel comfortable. And that's where the NFL is being forced to evolve. Because the comfort zone, it's been disrupted. The old hierarchy where coaches rule like kings and rookies were expected to keep their heads down no matter what, that era is dying, slowly in some places, violently in others. Cleveland, it got nuked. And now, other organizations are watching and asking, what do we do when our young star speaks up like that? Do we suppress it? Or do we listen? Because here's what Cleveland is learning the hard way. Sometimes, the guy with the strongest voice isn't the one in the headset. Sometimes, the leader is the one wearing the jersey, stepping into the fire, and refusing to let fear dictate how the team plays. And Shedeur's refusal to play that game anymore, that's a message, not just to the Browns, but to the entire league. And the ripple effect is already happening. Teams with young quarterbacks are on alert. Coaches are being asked behind closed doors, would you be okay with your rookie saying something like that? Front offices are scrambling to figure out how to handle the new wave of player empowerment. Not the diva stuff, but the real empowerment. The kind that comes with vision, composure, and a platform. Because this isn't Shedeur the quarterback anymore. This is Shedeur the movement, the embodiment of everything modern athletes have been building toward. Authenticity, preparation, transparency, and a complete refusal to be silenced when something's wrong. And that's what scares people. Because you can't coach that. You can't contain it. You can't call a timeout when it's happening live on ESPN. You can only deal with it. And if you're smart, you don't just deal, you adapt. You sit down and realize that maybe, just maybe, this is what real leadership looks like now. Not someone who toes the line, but someone who draws a new one when the old one starts holding the team back. And you better believe ownership sees it. That meeting, you know the one. The emergency sit-down after the latest ESPN firestorm, that wasn't about Shedeur. That was about what they're going to do with the truth he forced them to face. Because now, the entire Browns front office has a decision to make. Do they double down on tradition, or do they build around transformation? Because Shedeur is a transformation. He's a disruption, the chaos, the clarity, the new standard. You don't try to mold him into what came before. You evolve the system to match what he already is. That's the only way this works. Because if you try to clip his wings, if you try to put the fire out, you don't just lose a quarterback. You lose the locker room. You lose the fan base. You lose the future. And in Cleveland, the future has never looked this promising. The city knows it. You can hear it in the bars, the barbershops, the practice fields, the schoolyards. There's a new energy, a new feeling. It's not just about stats or standings anymore. It's about belief. Belief in a quarterback who doesn't just play like a leader, but speaks like one. Belief in a kid who walked into a broken situation and refused to play the good soldier while the ship sank. Belief in someone who understands that being the face of the franchise means owning every part of it, good, bad, and ugly, and leading anyway. That's Shedeur Sanders. That's who he's always been. And now, finally, the world is catching up. So yeah, maybe it was just 7 minutes of live TV. Maybe it was just another press conference. Maybe it was just a quarterback speaking his truth. But for the Browns, it was everything. A turning point, a reckoning, and if they're smart, the beginning of something legendary. You're either part of the shift, or you're in the way. Let us know in the comments. Are you a Shedeur Sanders and the new wave of leadership? Or are you still stuck hoping the old model finds its way again? Either way, keep watching, because this isn't just a moment anymore. It's a movement, and it's only just begun.